Hi everyone, this video picks up right where the other one left off, right where part 1 left off. And in this video, we're going to make the turret fire a projectile. And to start with, let's make a point at the end of the turret, a transform actually, that's facing in the right direction. That's going to be the exact point where the projectile should spawn so that it'll begin launching in a particular direction. To do that, just go to Turret and create an empty child. And make sure that you reset the position. And then I'm going to drag it out to the end here. Now I'm approximating it, but then that's just to figure out roughly where it is. And then I just round it to the nearest value. So the y is 1. But we want to rotate it a little bit, because if you look at this from the top, you can see the z direction, which if we go back to this perspective, forward is into the camera. But we want forward to be coming out of the turret. So to do that, rotate it around the, around what looks like the x-axis 90 degrees. That's not right. Maybe 270? Yeah. It looks about right. And call that bullet spawn point. Now the turret's going to be launching the bullets. So in the turret, let's add a component and call it turret, or let's call it launch projectile. And I just put a T on there for my purposes. You can leave that off. Okay. Open it up. And in the update, let's set up an input routine to actually launch the projectile. Generally, we're going to instantiate it and then launch it off. But first, we need to have something to instantiate. So let's go make a bullet. I created an empty game object, reset the position, called it bullet. And in there, I'm going to make a 3D sphere. Drag it up into the bullet. And then I'm going to drag this bullet to my assets folder to make a prefab out of it. I'm going to rename it to T-bullet to match my previous naming scheme. And then I'm going to delete it from my scene. But then back in the launch projectile script, I'm going to make a public game object bullet. And that way I can set it. And since this prefab is also a game object, I can drag it in right there. And I'm also going to make public transform spawn point. And this was me trying to start it off. So I'm going to comment that out, and then back in the turret, momentarily the spawn point will show up here, and I'll drag this bullet spawn point right there. Then you just fill in the instantiate. The bullet, the spawn point dot position, and the spawn point dot rotation. And then you launch it off in the forward direction with a force. But to do that, we need to keep track of this game object. So game object new bullet equals. And in order to launch it off in the forward direction, it needs to have a rigid body. So to do that, I'll drag the bullet back in our game into our scene. And on the bullet, I'll add a rigid body here. I'm reconsidering the need for this T-bullet, and so I'm pulling the bullet sphere out, breaking the prefab instance, deleting the T-bullet, deleting my T-bullet prefab, making this T-bullet sphere and making that a prefab. Now it's got a rigid body, so now we can go back to the script and say new bullet. Back up. We have to go set it one more place in the turret. Now it's missing because we deleted it. So there. New bullet dot. I'll write it up. Well, now I'm going to have to experiment a little bit to remember how I did the force. So let's go see what it does without adding any force to it. Okay, cool, that's working. It's spawning them, and if they look like they're shooting off, that's just because I've placed two of them in the same position, and the physics is just saying they can't exist in the same spot, so they need to get apart from one another. So you need to give it a position to add the force, at which to add the force. Spawn point dot position, and then give it a force. Let's see, and then give it a force mode. Let's see what that does. That actually didn't do anything different at all. And I think I know why. The force has to do with a vector and a direction. So I'm going to say, I want to say forward from the point of that bullet. So I went to the new bullet, got its transform, and said grab the forward part of that, multiplied it by a bullet speed, which is something I just added, equals to 100 f. Let's see what happens. Well, when it's set to 100, very little happens, but if it changes to 1000, that works pretty well. Interesting. Change the, back in the turret anchor, change the rotation speed to 2 and make the main camera back 25 in the Z direction. And then at that point, up and down works pretty well, and you can shoot. And that's what I wanted to show you in this video. So in the next video, we're going to constrain the play field. And I appreciate you watching this, and I hope I can be helpful in other ways. So leave comments at the bottom with whatever other topics you want me to look into, and I'll look into them. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.